Good afternoon, and welcome to the Smart Women Savvy Money 2010 webinar series. 30 minutes on the clock, 20 minutes to teach, and 10 to talk. My name is Renee Norris, founder and CEO of Urban Wealth Management, where we help our clients get their financial lives in gear. Smart Women Savvy Money was launched in 2014 as a means of providing women with the tools and the resources needed to create the lifestyle they desire and deserve, primarily through our complimentary webinars. In 2016, we expanded our platform to include the Smart Women Club, where members receive content through our monthly emails and private Facebook page on topics designed to stimulate as well as educate members about how to make savvier financial decisions. Webinars are held the second Thursday of each month from 1 to 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. We do tend to have people calling from all over the country, so it's important that when you have the opportunity to definitely listen to the replay link, and we certainly want you to share with other people as well. So when you get the replay link, go ahead and send it out. And even if you can't make the live call, as long as you register, you'll get the link to listen to at your convenience. We know you're busy because we are busy women. So we designed these calls to be short but impactful. For our schedule of our upcoming events, webinars, and latest blogs, please visit our website at urbanwm.com. And here you will not only see our very robust selection of blogs and content that are relevant to you, but also to family for both professional and personal parts of your life. So we encourage you to do that. The other thing is that if you have missed a webinar in the past, you will actually be able to go into our slider, and here you can select previous webinars that we've done in the past based on the content. So we will certainly very shortly have a wonderful lineup in 2019, and that will be posted on our website here in the next couple of weeks. You definitely don't want to miss our January speaker, Wendy Ida, who is my personal trainer. She is amazing, 66 years young, and as you can see, does not look a day over 40. So everybody always has a specific objectives that they want to meet for the year, lose weight, eat better. So our first quarter is all going to be about health and wellness. So we will be posting this very shortly, and hopefully you'll come back to the site to visit us. Now, I'm very excited to begin today's presentation with the phenomenal Dr. Lois Frankel. And let me just make sure I can get her on there. Dr. Frankel, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yay! Yes, I can. Fantastic. So, Dr. Frankel, I just don't know how she does all the things that she does, but she is the president of Corporate Coaching International, and is the author and founder of many, many books. Founder of Bloom Again, which is a nonprofit organization that just celebrated its anniversary. And I was very happy to be there recently. That was just awesome. And also, Bloom Again is a nonprofit that provides rapid response for women who are at or near poverty levels, to provide them with financial assistance, maintaining their households and their families while they're working through major medical emergencies. Hopefully you can share with us how you do that, Dr. Frankel, because it's pretty amazing that you're actually able to run all of these organizations as well as be able to still be a coach and run your business. So with that said, I am going to, if everybody is muted, but you can still clap and jump up and down and applaud for welcoming Dr. Lois Frankel. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Renee, and thank you for that nice introduction. I'm a little bit embarrassed. So, but thank you very much. We've got about 20 minutes here, and so I'm going to go on a pretty fast clip. If you would like to ask questions, I'm going to suggest you put them in the chat box, and that what Renee is going to do, she'll stop me and then ask me that question. Okay, so don't hesitate to ask questions. I just can't see them, but Renee will stop me and ask your question for you. All right, when it comes to talking about leadership, it's one of my favorite topics because I believe that women lead all the time. They just don't call themselves leaders. If you think about the many ways in which, let me backtrack. One definition of a leader is someone who enables people to go places they would not or could not go alone. And women are great at doing that because leadership is really about supporting people through their transitions and their changes. And if ever there was a time for women to lead, now is that time, and you are the women. Why do I say that? First of all, we've reached a period of demise of command and control. Command and control is always top-down, and it's a more masculine model. And anyone who has kids, anyone who leads anybody in the workforce knows that when you say jump, people no longer say how high, they say why. Women are ideally suited to lead in a non-command and control environment because they've always had to. They never had command. They never had control. And so we've always done it through influence and relationships. Next, this isn't, I don't think I have control here. So I think you may be doing this, Renee. We've reached the turning point. And what the turning point is, what that means is that when there was a historian by the name of Arnold Toynbee, and he said, societies that see an early demise are those where the people who have power no longer know what to do with it, but they won't share it. And don't you think that that's exactly where we are today? We are seeing a breakdown in our society, and it's not the women who are in charge currently. Now, we just had a midterm election where we saw many more women elected, and hooray, because that's exactly what we need if we want to make this country sane again, because that's what women bring. To the turning point of seeing an early demise, we need women to have more control. Next, we have a track record. We've already shown we make great leaders. We have high emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the sine qua non for leadership. If you don't have emotional intelligence, you cannot be a strong leader. And emotional intelligence consists of 5 things. It consists of self-awareness, self-regulation, self-motivation, empathy, and strong social skills. Women exceed men in 4 of those 5 scales. The one where we're equal is self-motivation. So we have huge emotional intelligence that makes us great leaders. We've raised the glass ceiling. The glass ceiling raised the bar for us. We've had to be better leaders. We've had to do it through influence. We've had to do it differently. And we've done it. And the glass ceiling raised the bar for us. We had to be better, and we are. Another reason why women, why now? Socialization versus worker needs. We have a generation of workers who will not acquiesce to people who tell them what to do, when to do it, why to do it, how to do it. They will not acquiesce to that. They want to be part of the process, and as women, we have always brought people along in that process. So that's why I think why women and why now, and you are the women that we need in society to really turn things around. And I don't just mean politically, I also mean in corporations. I mean in schools, in all aspects of society. So what are some common mistakes we make when we lead? The number one thing is we act like nice girls. Now, I'm not saying you can't be nice and be a leader. You have to be nice. But nice is necessary for success. It's not sufficient. When I talk about being a nice girl, I talk about acting like that nice little girl you were taught to be in childhood. Many times girls get messages about don't make waves, smile, be nice, boys won't like you if you're too strong. Even in this generation, it depends on where you are culturally, where you come from, what country you come from. There's a wide range of behaviors that we see in young women today, and they still go from very acquiescent to very self-confident and assertive. And you want to make sure that you're on that assertive end, whether or not you got the message you were allowed to be assertive. Because if you got messages that you weren't allowed to be, you're going to keep acting like that nice little girl you were taught to be in childhood. And you want to make sure you don't do that. Another mistake that I think women make is we hesitate to speak up and speak out. There was, and probably Renee might even been able to speak to this, there was recently a study done of men and women who are on earnings calls, and it showed that men were significantly more likely to speak up and ask questions than the women on the calls. That holds true in meetings. It holds true in all kinds of places, that the male voices are louder and more frequent, and they often crowd us out, and we let them crowd us out. So we need to find ways, you need to find ways to make sure that your voice is heard. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Besides talking about mistakes, I'm also going to talk about some ways that you really can lead with courage and confidence. Next. We ignore the look and sound of leadership or executive presence. There is a look and a sound to leadership. We know it when we see it. There's actually a Chinese curse that says, may you have a wonderful idea and not be able to convince anyone of it. That speaks to the importance of the sound of leadership, of executive presence. Now, research has been done, and it shows that when it comes to executive presence, it looks very much the same in women and in men. And women who are in the most senior positions do tend to yield it effectively. So you need to think about, how does leadership look and sound? And I'm going to give you a tip for this in just a second as well. You need to be thinking about, how do I develop my executive presence? Because people do notice. We underestimate the importance of strong 360-degree relationships. There's probably nothing more important that you will do for your career than build strong 360-degree relationships. And I want you to remember, when you need a relationship, it's too late to build it. We don't negotiate enough. We negotiate for other people. We make great negotiators. When it comes to negotiating for other people, do not get in the way of a woman who is negotiating to get something for one of her children. But when it comes to negotiating for yourself, you tend not to negotiate because you see it as greedy or self-serving, and you need to get beyond that too. Another mistake we make is we tend to make miracles. And when I talk about making miracles, I'm talking about getting things done with less time, less money, fewer resources than is humanly possible. Next time you're asked to make a miracle, I want you to stop and think about how you can set boundaries and manage expectations instead. I'm a big believer in saying yes to almost everything I'm asked. But you'll also often hear me say, yes, I can do that, and let me tell you what it's going to take. Or, yes, I can do that, and for the amount of money you have, this is what I can deliver. If you want to spend more, I can deliver more. So making miracles does you no good. Miracle workers are canonized. They are not recognized. And another mistake we make is we ask instead of tell. Every time you ask for something or you ask for people's opinions, you rob yourself of the opportunity to sound certain about what you want and why you want it. So I'd like to see you turning those asks into tells a lot more often. Okay? Now, let me give you 10 tips that are going to help you lead with courage and confidence. And the first one, there we go, is sit at the table. What I see women do when they know that the conference room is going to be crowded, they often take the seats around the edges. If you're not at the table, you're not in the room. Remember that. Not at the table, not in the room. Where should you sit? You should sit where I have these arrows that show you that are next to the person who has the most power in the room. You want to always try to sit next to the person who has the most power. Now, that's just about where you sit. Also, if you don't speak up in meetings, you are not in the meeting. So my coaching tip for you around this is to be among the first 2 or 3 people to speak in any meeting. Early speakers are seen as more self-confident and more likely to be listened to than later speakers. So, and I'm not saying you should always be first, but I am saying you should be among the first 2 or 3. Okay, how can you communicate with confidence? How can you show that you have executive presence? Well, you do it by communicating in headlines. If I could turn this slide upside down, I would, because most women, they use far too many words before they get to their point. If you will just use this model, you will be seen as clear, cogent, and convincing. And so what this says is that when you answer a question or give your opinion, the most important thing out of your mouth should be the very first thing. That's your headline. Pretend that you are going to be interrupted in 30 seconds. What would you want to make sure you got out? Then you support that with 2 or 3 pieces of data. So, for example, it might sound like, I feel strongly that we need to change our marketing strategy by the 3rd quarter of next year, or we will lose a significant market share. I say that for 3 reasons. Number 1, we haven't changed our marketing strategy in over 3 years. Number 2, marketing has significantly changed in those 3 years, and we're behind the 8 ball. And number 3, younger people come in here and expect to see us more state-of-the-art, and when we're not, it leads to attrition. Now, you can hear I feel strongly about that. I'd also like to know what everybody else has to think. So you can see that the headline combined with the tagline really makes it palatable, and you don't come off as strident. If you were to take the tagline out, you might come off as too strident for some people. Certainly not for me, but for some people. So the tagline really helps you to mitigate it. And a tagline is always something inclusive. I'd like to know what you think about it. You can hear I feel strongly about it. Do you have any questions about what I said? How do you think we should move forward? But my opinion goes first. I don't ask that question first. Number 3, make sure you're playing your game at the edge. Every workplace is a playing field. There are rules, there are boundaries, there are strategies. Leaders play their game at the edge. If you want to know where the edge of your playing field is, then you need to look at where are the winning women in your culture. Okay, where are the winning women in your culture? What are they doing? They're probably playing their game at the edge. Games are won at the edge. They are not won in the middle. Okay? So learn the rules, the boundaries, and strategies of your playing field. And when I say your playing field, it could be your company, it could be your department, it could be your bosses. You need to learn what those are, because when you don't know what those are, you wind up going out of bounds. Number 4, vary your influence style. Women tend to use one influence style, and that is listening. We make great listeners, yes, and that is one style. But what I want you to see here is that there's actually 5 styles of influence. And you need to know when to use each one. Persuasion is what I use when I'm the expert. I use the data, facts, and figures. I say, I've been doing keynote addresses for almost 30 years, and I can tell you, if you do X, Y, Z, you will only have 20% of your people show up. I'm just kind of making that up. But if I'm the expert, I come in with the data, and that's how you influence people. Assertion is when I have a legitimate want or need, and I need to put that on the table. Assertion might sound like this. We have talked 3 or 4 times about doing this differently. and nothing has ever changed. And I just need to tell you, if things don't change, I will have no choice but to do an end around and go to the department manager so that he or she can make the decision, because if we don't change, we're really going to lose market share, we're going to lose clients, we're going to lose whatever. That's an assertion, and that sounds different than a persuasion, if you hear what I'm talking about. Assertion often involves the hill I'm willing to die on. The third one, attracting, that means attracting people to your ideas. And usually what you do is you use enthusiasm and you paint a picture. You know, picture this. Picture us being on the Fortune 500 list of best companies to work for. Picture us being in the top 10. And here's how we do it. That's attracting. Bridging is when you use your listening skills and you listen, and then you put your idea out and you tie it to the other person's idea. So it might be something like this. So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is, we need to change our marketing strategy. Okay, I can get on board with that. I also think that in changing our marketing strategy, we need to think about these three things. Okay, so that's bridging, and I do that when I want to build relationships. And most people don't think about the fifth one, moving away, but moving away is an influence strategy, and you do that when tempers are high, when it's not the best time to do it. You need to know when to go for it and when not to, when to leave it alone. Okay, so those are the influence styles. Here we go. You need to learn the nuances of female negotiation. Oh, I need to go back. Let's see. How can I go back here? Page up. Will that work? Can you help me with this, Renee?
I think it's previous. You have that pop up. Let me
see. It's previous?
Yeah. Let me hit this.
I just page up. That didn't work. All right, you know what? I'm not going to, because we only have a few minutes, let me just talk about negotiation very briefly and say, again, that women make great negotiators when they're negotiating for other people. And you want to understand that there is a difference in different types of negotiation. There are personal negotiations and there are transactional negotiations. Personal negotiations are when I'm in a relationship with you, and it can be through work, it could be through you're my husband, my wife, my life partner. It's when you work with me side by side. Those are personal relationships, and in those relationships, I'm going to negotiate differently than in a transactional one. In a transactional one, we are only here to get the best price, to get the best cost for this item. And I don't want to damage the relationship, but it's not as important that I maintain this relationship as it is with someone more personal to me. So women typically need to use we call them relational accounts, that you build on the relationships that you have, and you let people know that you want what's the best for them, and you also want to make sure that your needs get met too. So that's just really quick and dirty negotiation. But if you're uncomfortable negotiating, my suggestion is that you take a negotiation skills class. Okay. Next, you want to lead effectively. You want to be seen as a trusted advisor. Okay. Trusted advisors focus on two things. They focus on getting a breadth of business issues. They understand widely the business issues that your clients or your constituents find important. And you have a deep personal relationship. So here, I start here as a subject matter expert. When I'm hired to come into a company, or you're hired to come into a company, you come in as a subject matter expert. You don't have a broad knowledge of the business, and you don't necessarily have a deep personal relationship with your client. Then the more that I work with you, I'm a subject matter expert in an affiliated field. right? Because now I'm learning about your business. And the more I learn about your business, the more value I add to you, the more I become trusted as your advisor. As we continue to work together and I understand your needs, I let you know I understand your needs, I understand your personal needs as well, I become a valuable resource. Until finally, up here, I'm a trusted advisor. You know me, you know I know your issues, I've proven myself to you, and we have a deep personal relationship. This really is where you want to get with your clients and your constituents, where you are a trusted advisor, and you have to focus on those two things, and then you can really lead them. Okay? I've already talked about emotional intelligence as being self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. You exceed men in 4 of these 5 scales. Don't be afraid to use it. They used to call it the soft skills. There's nothing further from the truth. These are not soft. I used to say to my male clients, they'd come in and they'd say to me, I was sent here to learn the soft skills. And I would say, yeah, if they're so soft, what makes them so hard for you? So you want to make sure you're using your emotional intelligence to the fullest. Capitalize on internal and external relationships. Understand that there is a quid pro quo inherent to every relationship. In this chart, what you see is that there is, you are at the center of a complex web of relationships. And inherent to every one of these relationships, there's a quid pro quo. And so you need to understand what you have to give in this relationship and what you want to get. And you need to make sure that you're giving what people need, not what you want to give, what people need and what they find valuable. And then that in turn gives you the right to ask them for what they find valuable and what they have that you need. Next. Doesn't seem, there we go. Consciously build your leadership brand. Okay, I want you, if you take one thing away that you're going to do as soon as we hang up, I hope it's this. I want you to write down on paper what you want people to say about you as a leader. If you were to fill in this sentence, there goes a leader who, fill in the blank. Okay, there goes a leader who I trust and admire. There goes a leader who really knows her stuff. There goes a leader who has the best interest of our company at heart, is smart, and walks the talk. I don't care what you want people to say about you. You start by writing it down. Okay? Then you apply actions to it. Okay, if I want people to say she walks the talk, what do I have to do? I have to be following all the rules I expect everybody else to follow. If I give people advice, I had to be better following that advice myself. If I want people to say I'm smart, I better come to every single meeting prepared. So you apply actions because people don't know you by your intentions, they know you by your actions. Next, look to the edge. When I talk about look to the edge of the playing field. So in building your brand, you want it to be edgy. You want it to be at the edge of the playing field, not in the middle, which means you're taking some risks. Let other people know about your brand. It does no good to have the best brand in the world and nobody knows about it. Okay? Don't be afraid to say, if somebody gives you a compliment, say, thank you for noticing. I worked really hard on that. Elicit feedback. Okay? You can't build your brand if you don't know what other people are saying about you. And treat others with abundance. There is enough to go around for everyone. So you want to make sure that you are giving away more than you're getting. And I guarantee if you do that, you will get everything you want. Okay? And I'm not talking about just money here. I'm not talking about giving away more money than you're getting. That's something you need to talk to Renee about. When I talk about abundance, I mean help, friendship, support. Sometimes it's money, but there's an abundance in the world. Make sure you're acting as if that you live in a world of abundance, and trust me, abundance will come to you. And the last thing is, and I'm a few minutes over here, but the last thing is, there we go, live and work mindfully. And you will do this by knowing your values and priorities. Yesterday I was talking to somebody about don't drink the Kool-Aid. You know, if your company has a practice that everybody stays late, that may not be your values and priorities. So that may mean it's not the right playing field for you. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Be strategic in everything you do. And that means you think twice before you do it, and you think about how it's going to add to the quality of your life or to the success of your career. Relinquish perfectionism. This is where women waste a lot of time. We try to perfect perfection, and we just spin our wheels because perfection is important. Be realistic about what you can accomplish in a day. This, to me, you know, Renee, when you said you don't know how I accomplish everything, that's because this is my constant challenge. I am not always realistic about what I can accomplish in a day. And so I don't always live as mindfully as I think I should. Address your workaholic issues. Workaholism is in the service of avoidance. If you're a workaholic, it often means that you're avoiding something at home. So think about that. Make sure you exercise, and make sure you have a life. If you don't have a life to go to, you're not going to live and work mindfully. You're just going to be work, 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 work. That's the end of my presentation. Not sure if we have time for any questions.
Well, as always, you were amazing. And yes, we do have one question that popped up here. So if anybody needs to jump off, we totally understand. And again, you will get the replay link. So we'll be able to share whatever content and items that we're talking about. So we did get we got one question, which was for the influence styles. Can you recommend a book or a course that helps teach and reinforce those behaviors? I'm sure it's got to be one of your books, right?
You know, I have it in C. Jane Lead. There are some on that, but if any listeners want to contact me, I'm happy to share with you the handouts that I use in influence workshops. So all you have to do is contact me through my website, drloisfrankel.com, and say that you want the influence handouts, and I'm happy to share those with you.
Awesome. Awesome. Very good. Okay, so everyone, thank you. And again, applaud, even though everybody's muted. We know that you are applauding and clapping for Dr. Frankel. And thank you so much for spending your time with us, because as I mentioned before, I don't know how you do all the things that you do, but thank you for spending this half hour with us today. And this does end not only our session today, but this is our last webinar of 2018, because we are all busy women, I know, and when December rolls around, obviously that's where our attention is, starting with the week of Thanksgiving through the end of the year. So please do come back to our website to see when our next sessions are and register for them. And with that said, everyone, we got one other question. Yeah, actually it's a comment. Thank you, a big thank you. So thank you everyone for your time. Have a wonderful holiday season, and we look forward to connecting with you in 2019. Thank you, Dr. Frankel.
Thank you, Renee. Take care.
Bye.